Hey, today we're talking about one of the easiest ways to warm up your audience so that they are ready to buy your high ticket coaching program with ease, ready and willing with less objections along the way. Hi, I'm Brian Czekanski. If this is the first time joining one of my lives, I help coaches 10x their high ticket sales by using a method that involves no sales calls whatsoever. So I use emails and a Google Doc to interact with your coaching audience, get people over the line, and do that by taking all those sales calls off your plate and also just delivering these high ticket clients to you on a silver platter that meet the qualifications that you're looking for, and kind of turning away all those people that aren't the right fit for you. So I want to talk today about like one of the easiest ways if you want more high ticket coaching clients. Like one of the best ways to kind of warm up your audience and get them in the position where they are ready to open up their wallets and spend 10K, 20K, 30K, 40K for your program is kind of that in the same way that you'd have a dating arrangement, or even using the metaphor of buying a new car. So anytime you buy a new car, lots of times it's a little bit easier now that we can just go online and buy something off the shelf. But usually when you're buying a new car, you want to do a test drive, make sure it's a great fit, and make sure you're comfortable with it, what your purchase is, before you move forward. And it's kind of the same way for high ticket coaching prospects as well. They kind of want to take a lot of the times they want to take a test drive about what your process is all about, what your methodology is all about, to make sure it can work for them. The number one high ticket sales objections I get all the time is, people always think that they're a special snowflake. So they're asking the question like, is this going to work for my unique situation? They think their problems and the dreams that they have in particular are so unique that, even if you have a long list of testimonials that speak exactly to their situation, they're going to always have that objection of like, I'm not sure if it's going to work for me because I've got these super unique and special problems along the way. So again, I'm going to talk through today kind of just like a simple thing of using a course as a great asset in terms of that. And for me, this kind of came to mind and kind of saw the value of it just in the last few weeks in terms of running two different campaigns. So on one side, I had a coach that was selling an 8K program, and the people that were coming into that sales campaign had seen a webinar. So the webinar was kind of a way of warming them up to that solution, but otherwise they had no real relationship built. Like they had a series of different emails that came out after the webinar, but no real relationship building other than that 40 to 45-minute webinar. On the other side, I had a coach that was selling a 40K program, but he had a mix of people that had opted in for free, and he also had a course which was around $600 for that. And the interesting thing is that you would think selling a 40K type of product versus an 8K, like it's got to be much easier to sell that 8K. And what I found is like it was actually much easier to get more people motivated and get more people over the line by selling that 40K offer, just because that course delivered a lot of motivated people. And people came into those sales conversations kind of bought into the specific beliefs that this coach had, all about his story, why they were a great fit for him. So it just made sense for them to continue that relationship with them because they had already seen results in their own situation. They've been through it, like week after week. They've been following through in terms of his processes, reading his emails, all those kind of things in terms of that. So really thinking about, like, especially as you're trying to sell a high ticket coaching program, those buyers versus kind of those webinar registrations or those people that opted in for free, like the difference between a buyer, even if you're selling something for $1, that person is going to be much more valuable coming into a high ticket sales conversation because, again, they've taken the motivation, they put down money there in particular, but also they've started to get, like, again, think of it as like as a sample size or a test drive. They've gotten the experience of trying your methodology and putting it to work in their own situation. And if your stuff, like, again, if you're running a course, like, and if you can get them some quick results, maybe you don't get them to that dream scenario that they're looking for, but if you can start getting them some results and start building up that trust and relationship, they're going to be much more willing to be involved in a sales conversation, raise their hand and say, yes, I'm interested in that, and then continuing the conversation. So I talked about a few days ago in terms of that affinity, like one of the best ways to build affinity with your audience. And that's really what we're trying to do as much as possible. That's kind of the secret weapon behind high ticket sales as much as possible, is that affinity. What's that know, like, and trust um, factor that you have with your relationships? How much are they willing to kind of engage anytime you send out an email or send out a social media post? All those kind of things are really important. Like, you can have tons of followers, but if those followers are not engaging with you, if you're not having a two-way conversation with them, it's not as it's not as effective. Again, um, so really think about that. Again, from the one side, I had a 40K offer, and I had lots of different, and those people that were coming through obviously had for this coach, he had a ton of those kind of freebie, the people that opted in for free. And I typically didn't see those freebie people coming at the end of the day, getting through to that final stage of putting the offer in front of them. I didn't see those people as often. Like 9 times out of 10, probably 95% of the time, it was always those buyers of the course that were getting to that stage, that were kind of going through the process of going back and forth with me, kind of sharing a little bit more about what they were going through, what their hopes and dreams were, and all those kind of things. So like, again, like, I'm not jumping on phone conversations with people. I'm just having one-to-one email conversations with them back and forth. So if there's not a certain level of affinity with them, if there's not a level of trust and relationship that has been built up, eventually those email conversations are going to just die on the limb, because people aren't just motivated. They're not motivated, and they're not willing to invest in that process, because they don't see the results on the other side. So like, that's typically what I saw for that 8K program, selling like, just because they went through that webinar, they weren't as invested. They didn't have as much of a relationship with that coach, even though it was a lower price point. And even though she was speaking to all those things that they wanted, there just wasn't that affinity, that wasn't that relationship to drive as many people through to get to the other side in terms of that. So again, think about how you can, in building your course, and everybody kind of thinks about a course as like, oh, I've got to come up with all these modules, I've got to come up with these titles and everything else. Like, one of the things that was really helpful for me, I think I went through product launch formula, or one of those other, it might have been Stu McLaren in terms of his membership course as well, is really think about, like, you don't have to come up with every single module, every single thing as part of your course. With your email list or with your followers, think about how you can create kind of like a founders group and really have people walk through. And you obviously have your kind of process that you have out there. You kind of start with your process. So think about like your 3-step process. And I've been through this on several videos before, but like, you have your unique mechanism, you have your unique process. Think about it in maybe like 3 or 4 steps, getting people from that hell island to that heaven island they're looking for, and walking people through that. And if you can get a founders group of, say 10 people or even more, what you can do is each week kind of walk people through your 3 or 4-step process and figure out, like, what are those questions that come up? Where are those areas of difficulty that people are having? And it could be as easy as like, okay, let's jump on 4 or 5 Zoom calls once a week, and let's start implementing whatever it is you do for your audience, and allow your audience to kind of start to implement those things. And along the way, you're going to figure out what questions they have, what obstacles they have along the way. And that's just going to allow your course to be very much audience driven versus like, hey, this is all the stuff that I think you need to know. You're going to get a lot of insights in terms of, okay, like, these are the questions that are coming up again and again and again. And as people get those recordings and view that in future instances, it's just a way of kind of automating your expertise as much as possible. And again, giving people a little bit of a test drive or a free, like a sample of what working with you is like. And in going through those modules and going through and spending time with you and getting all those associated emails that you might put out along the way, and hearing about all the results of the program that they're going through right now, it's going to make it a big difference when, okay, we get to the point where it's like, okay, like, I've got this 10K program. You've been going through my DIY type of approach right now, where, you might not have that personalized support, the accountability, all those kind of things that might make a difference. Like, if you want a faster, easier, and simpler approach, you can obviously go through my course and implement that. But I've got, on the other side, I've got this coaching program for 10K, 20K, 30K. That can help you out and get you there even faster. Those people that have been through your course and have been through your methodology and have learned more about your story and actually put their credit card down first, they're going to be much more valuable in terms of doing that. And I've kind of seen that across businesses and industries as well. Like, the difference between those buyers and those people that are freebie, like opting in for a freebie or a webinar or whatever those things are. Like you want to get to you want to really focus on those buyers, even if it's a $1 offer for you, 50-cent offer. It doesn't really matter what the price point is. If somebody is putting down their credit card, the value for them in terms of lifetime value for you, in terms of future coaching, like future investment, in terms of memberships, courses, high ticket programs, it's going to be much more valuable. So really think about how you can start to give people kind of those baby steps in terms of learning a little bit more about you, getting involved in your methodology, getting those results over time. And what that's going to do is kind of really drive up and make it easier for you to, whether it's you doing it yourself or hiring somebody, like partnering with somebody like me, where I can do all those high ticket sales conversations for you, and kind of take those sales calls off your plate. Think about how you can kind of build in your business a little bit of automation in terms of like, okay, like this is more of this DIY type of approach. If you want more of that done for you, or where I'm sitting there coaching and supporting and giving you accountability on a daily basis, or whatever that looks like for you, give people those paths to do that. And by doing that, you're going to give people a level of reassurance, but also building up that trust. Again, that affinity is so important to driving up that those high ticket sales that you're looking for over a longer term perspective. So like, think about those courses, think about those low ticket items. This is why people love writing books. Not everybody's going to read your book. They might read a chapter or two on average, but the fact that they bought that book shows a different level of motivation, and makes it more likely that they're going to be at least interested in your high ticket type of program. And they're learning a little bit more about you. They're going to follow your social media content a little bit more, look for your emails in their email box. All that makes a big difference. So really think about like, how many buyers do I have on my list? How many freebie seekers, and how can I turn those freebie seekers, those webinar registrations, those people that opted in for a free guide, how can I turn them into to buyers? How can I, create like very small friction? So you might have a course that, courses can be anywhere from, $50 to, can be a significant one for you. It could be $2,500. So, it doesn't have to be super cheap, but give people that access in terms of, especially if you have a 10K, 20K, 30K type of program, give them that that level to get involved with your methodology and kind of put it to work for themselves, kind of that DIY type of approach. And the great part is, like, even in those instances where you are having a high ticket sales conversation with one of your free, like somebody that's just a follower online, or somebody that opt in for a free guide, or something like that, the course and kind of that DIY approach offers you an easy way to downsell people. So like, okay, like 40K is too much for you. Actually, I have this course where you can go through this and do it yourself. It's a lot cheaper option. So having those downsell opportunities for that person, or maybe you're not putting as much time, effort, or anything like that into it, makes a big difference. And it's a great way to kind of just continue to monetize the followers and the email list subscribers that you have along the way. So just offering potential paths for people versus saying like, okay, it's out of your budget, that's fine, you got to move on from there. Allowing people to always have an opportunity to continue to be a buyer for you over time is really important, so that, okay, they're getting closer to that heaven island that they're looking for, even if they can't afford your highest tier offer. Maybe 6 months from now, they, as they're getting results from you, it makes it more likely that they are going to buy from you along the way. So just keep that in mind. Think about how you can, take that stuff that you're taking from a group program or one-to-one. What's the stuff that you can automate? How can you take your process and maybe take a beta group of 20 or 20 or 30 people from your audience, give them a kind of founder's deal, whether it's $100 or $1,000 or whatever makes sense for you. How can you take kind of a beta group or a founders group and use those people as kind of a way to learn more about what they're dealing with? What are some of those obstacles? What are some of those ways, and kind of take them through your process as much as possible. Like for them, it's a great opportunity to get a little bit more access to you, but you can kind of use those recordings and use the knowledge that you're using from from that beta group or founders group, and use those recordings to, like, again, this is something that you could continue to sell down the line and promote to your email list, promote to your subscribers. Anytime you're on a podcast, you have a way for people to just jump into your methodology. And those people that do go through your course are going to be much more likely to listen to that conversation about your high ticket program and be actually motivated to reach out to you and saying like, hey, I want to take the next step and I want to spend 10, 20, 30K. Like I have no questions about doing that because, hey, I went through your course already. I went through whatever paid program you have. And I've seen the results, and I know you can get me even bigger results, faster results, quicker results along the way. So think about how you can build out some of those paid programs. Again, courses are a great thing there, enough to the point where like I'm down to really like the people that I'm looking forward to partner with going forward. Obviously, they have to have a pretty sizable email list. A great offer is kind of top of mind for me, but like in talking to partners, I want to see some of those assets being created. I want to see those courses because I know there's great value in terms of interacting with those buyers versus just those freebie seekers. And I know time and time again, like the cream that kind of rises to the top is really those past buyers that are more willing to engage in a high ticket sales conversation, ultimately become those new buyers over time and kind of clients for life as well. So think about those assets. Let me know in the comments below what you're thinking about, maybe in terms of like future courses or maybe what you have available for existing prospects or freebie like webinar registrations, or just those people that maybe aren't ready to buy into your high ticket program. Like, do you have something a little bit more lower ticket, more DIY to get them through that process? So if this was helpful, hit that like button on whatever platform you're on. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. Always coming out with new tips and what's working well for me in the high ticket sales space. And with that, I'll see you on a future live.